So in the last few weeks that I've been researching on the topic of ancestorship, I found that it's a cultural value the African community had for numerous of years before Africa went through colonization. And after that, because another religion, that's mostly the Christian religion, was forced upon the Africans during colonization. And why I say that is because during colonization, if you were an enslaved African who refuses to convert to the Christian religion, during that time, that African will be rendered economically unviable. So there was no other option during colonization as an African to exist nor survive without converting to the Christian religion. It was an enforced religion to that society, and this is a religion that has been passed on from one generation to another generation, so it's become an acceptable religion currently. As I research further on ancestorship, I found that this is a culture practiced in the African community that was full of great knowledge. Because, like I have been saying in my previous videos, one not acknowledging one's ancestor is like a tree without roots. And a tree without roots cannot stand. Every tree needs a grounded foundation to be able to grow and have branches. So who is the tree here? The current living human beings are the tree, and the deceased human beings are and have become the ancestors. For the current human beings to know and understand who they are, why they behave in a certain way, also especially when it comes to health issues, you need to understand your roots in order for you to grow and flourish. That's the meaning and value of our ancestors. And this is a system that the ancient African culture had and flourished on. But again, colonization has wiped almost completely this greatly intellectual culture, to the extent that at the moment, most African countries do not practice it anymore. But guess what? The country who introduced Christianity, which is the West, do practice ancestorship. And wait a minute, let me say it. They practice it, but they don't do it like the ancient Africans were doing it. Because the ancient African culture practiced ancestorship, venerating their ancestors, and it was the system in that community. But when you look at the Western culture currently, there's a lot of ancestorship practice going on in the area of Remembrance Day, in the area of date of birth being on the record, in the area of DNA, in the area of ancestry records. For example, if you happen to be somebody who comes from Italy, relocated to the UK, but generation down the lane that you do not have an idea exactly where you originate from or who you are related to geographically, you don't need to worry, because all you need to do is go for a DNA test and voila, you get all the information from way back, where you came from, where your ancestors came from originally, geographically. Then you'll be able to understand who you might be related to and where your ancestors originally came from. And you'll be able to trace your steps back to get as much information as possible. That's how this is done in the West. But at the end of the day, it's one whole concept, which is the concept of ancestorship. So why are the African communities not embracing this system of living? Why are the African communities or countries not retracing their ancient culture back to the current system, so that the system can help the community to heal, to grow, to be historically informed, most especially to be able to find their footing back to their ancient culture, which will be able to help that continent to reestablish themselves. It's a great and important concept. I personally never knew how powerful this concept was until I decided to talk on ancestorship, because it's a culture that I saw but never practiced. And the reason why my family didn't practice it in Africa was that it was termed as an evil practice. It was termed as a practice that is connected to voodoo, that is connected to evil, that is opposed to the value of the Christian religion. But what they fail to understand is that the Christian Bible does have a record of ancestorship. When you go back to the book of Genesis and you read through, most of what it talks about is ancestorship and the genealogy of Jesus Christ. How would Jesus exist if the ancestors never existed? Without the ancestors, they would have not been Jesus. So they are all interconnected. You talk about Abraham, then you can talk about Jesus. There's no way you talk about Jesus without reconnecting to Abraham. Because according to the biblical records, it states that that's the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Our ancestors matter. The African community has to revisit the ancient African culture and unlearn to relearn and educate themselves of the importance of our ancient African practice. With this, I say thank you very much for watching. Join me in the next video, alright? This is a greatly interesting topic and very well educative. Take care now. Bye.